My name's John McLean, and it's the delight of my life to get to speak the word. I came into New Thought almost 50 years ago. I had to think about that. My gosh, 1985, when I lived in Los Angeles, California. And smiles. Yeah, you too. Okay. Signs of mind. Well, okay. I love that this is small enough where we can talk. Okay, this is great. And I was a Unity minister for 20 years. I retired from full-time pulpit ministry in October for a variety of reasons. And it was a wonderful experience. I was raised in New York, just north of the city. I was born Catholic, went to Catholic school, kindergarten through freshman year in college. And it was kind of fun being Catholic in New York. It wasn't unusual or strange. It was kind of cool and fun. And it was just great. It was just great. When I got to be an adult, though, I found it didn't offer any insight or information or help for me. And so I did nothing for a very long time except listen to Black gospel music. And then I found Science of Mind, New Thought. It was a long journey to finding New Thought, and especially living in LA in the 80s. Who else lived in LA? Anybody? Or here in Arizona? Okay, great. So I was, so you'll know a little bit about me. I've done several worthy things, and I was a bartender for a long time, and that's when I found God. So, but also it was a high time of exploration in the 80s that we all did Science of Mind, and we did Course in Miracles, and we did chakra balancing. We did, I think I can say, wheatgrass implants. Anybody remember what that is? Oh, yes. Okay. And it's still Sunday morning. And we did aura readings and trance channeling and everything of every nature. And it was a thrilling time to be on the search. But it got me to a place where I heard someone speaking clearly about the way to live and the nature of God. And I remember that moment with my whole body. It's a full body memory. And I thought, by God, that must be what the truth is. And pretty much from that time, it has been a privilege to be in service to that truth, to that word, because I was a practitioner in my church and on the board there. I moved to New York where I thought I was going to be forever, and I experienced Eric Butterworth in his Unity Church. And you know, because people ask me this all the time, and it was great, almost contentious at Unity School, but I said, I don't have a big story to tell. I went to Butterworth Church, I heard his message, and I had an opening to a larger experience. And for whatever reason, I knew that that was for me. And so I went in that direction. I was privileged to work in 3 churches, except for 1 or 2 weird things, which happens to everybody. It can happen at the grocery store, not unique to church, but I had a blessed time. And I have such regard for people like your trustees here and all your volunteers that make a noble effort to keep community happening and to keep it together. There's something very, very important that happens when we gather live and in person. And I think we learned a lot through quarantine, didn't we? I know, by God, I did. And that things virtual and remote are good. They really are good. It's a wonderful, wonderful tool. And yet there is something that's missing, which is a spiritual quality of fellowship. It's the secret sauce. It's why we gather, because there's an extra thing that happens when we come to affirm each other. So I went on this great journey, and it got me. What it got me, are we okay? Yeah, That's good. It got me the opportunity to live an adult life. That's the net experience that I share with all people. It gave me the courage, the support, and the appropriate information for me to find myself being in right relationship with life itself, with this planet, and the creator, whoever or whatever that might be. Some people have been in New Thought for decades. I'm consistently surprised by this. And when one says that we have no notion of an outside personality God who lives up in the sky, people go, what do you mean? After 20 years, but God is the creative principle of the universe. God is not a person. The most successful image ever created is the creation of Adam in the Sistine Chapel. And most of us get to be grown-ups and we know, well, that's not really Adam. You know, there's no such thing as a first man, but we're kind of afraid that that's really God. Right? And it's like, you know, don't touch that, just in case. It takes a long time to move on from that notion. A long, long time. And some people, bless their hearts, they just kind of can't do it. I was in Nashville, Tennessee for 8 years. And there are some people, and it's not their fault, but in this incarnation, they cannot give up the Baptist notion of God, and they suffer, and they will eventually leave the church and say, I just can't do it. I wish I could. So be it. You know, all of us find foothold where we need to be, I think, in this lifetime. And that's why judgment or judging other people or other people's search really is a waste of time. Charles Fillmore had a lovely expression, a euphemism for a complete waste of time. And he would always say that's a profitless pursuit. A profitless pursuit. Don't waste your time judging other people. Don't waste your time. They will come if it is for them. That's the upside and the downside of being in New Thought unity. Because you can't advertise. You can't bully anybody into coming. We have no promise to offer other than your life will be to you what you are to it. Because that's the truth. That's the truth. I do want to read a quotation from Charles Fillmore, if I can find it. I'm so embarrassed. Moving on. The quotation goes something like this. I can swear to some of it, not all of it. Unity is a link in the great education movement inaugurated by Jesus Christ. Do you know that in this church? Do you know that expression from Charles Fillmore? No, okay. When people would ask Charles Fillmore, you know, what's unity? And you kind of get tired after 80 years of tap dancing to make people feel comfortable. And he wrote this piece where he said, unity is a link in the great education movement inaugurated by Jesus Christ. We claim no special revelation. We have no new insight. We seek to help mankind by teaching the principle taught by the Master and proving it. And I have devoted my life to embodying that quotation and to living that way. We are here to help mankind by teaching the truth taught by the Master who is Jesus. And so this is a rhetorical quiz. Nobody has to answer. So what's the truth taught by the master? I'm God and you're not? No. I'm special and you're nobody? No. No. It is done unto you as you believe. I don't have a lot of favorite Bible things, but I think it's Mark 14, where there is a child who is sick, and the dad comes up to Jesus and says to him, if you can do anything, help my child. And Jesus says, according to thy faith be it unto you. And the dad says, I do believe, but I am weak. Help my disbelief. And we completely embrace the dad's giving up. That I do believe, but help my unbelief. You know, it's just too much for me. If it's too much for you to believe in yourself, then you are not going to have a life that's going to be very satisfactory. It really is as simple as that, and it is as hard as that. It's why it's a lifelong practice to keep growing in awareness about it is up to me. You know, if a child is ill, who could possibly have more heart or investment in the healing of the child than his own father? Nobody. And yet we spend our whole lives giving our power away, our agency away. We give our authority away. We give everything away, assuming that somebody else knows better than I do about what's right for me and my house. And all the wisdom teachings always point to the same thing. Even articulated in the song, it's in every one of us. What's it? Capital IT. It's not internet technology. That's where Ken is sitting there. Thank you, Ken, for providing that service today. But it is God, the creative principle of the universe. Your life unfolds according to your consciousness and your true, deep expectation of what it's going to be for you. At some point in our spiritual journey, it doesn't matter what tool we use. That's why all the things that we've been through, all the modalities we've been through, all of them are tools for your use, for your health and wholeness. But giving power to the tool is a mistake we always make as well. The power is here inside every one of us. And then what will you do with it? The end of that Charles Fillmore quotation is that we are here to prove it. And the subtext of that is, you better be working on something. You better be creating something every day of your life. That's a unique privilege and opportunity that we have, that as far as we know, nothing else in creation has it. Even though all animals, all plants have some level of sentience, they have some level of consciousness. Even consciousness resides in the stones. It is in every kingdom. But we, human beings, are the only ones that have, this is wonky, but we have in the powers of initiation and selection, about choosing, upgrading, refining, healing, insisting that something good is going to happen to me today. So we get to do that. And like any capacity or any muscle, it will get stronger. How? If we exercise it. So be about the business of creating something every single day and letting everything else and everybody else off the hook. That's what an adult, non-neurotic life looks like. When you stop blaming other people. You know, when Oprah was first on the air, I remember watching. Isn't it scary, all the things that are in your head? This is 30-something years ago. When she first went on the air, she was a little rough. You know, she didn't take the high road for many years. She didn't become Oprah that we remember now. She started out more like Jerry Springer. And she did. And there was a woman, and, you know, the adult children, they were fighting with the mother, and it was all this mishigas going on in the house. And the mother says to Oprah, she said, you know, you're out of my house for 5 years. Your stuff is your stuff. You don't get to blame me anymore. And clearly, I never forgot that. It made a big impact on me because here I was probably 40-something, still blaming my mother, having lived on my own for 25 years at that point. You know, we all do. Our life experience is really not only in our consciousness, subconscious and conscious, that there are other factors that happen in life, and we learn to deal with it. But for the most part, our lives are a reflection of our consciousness. The one great teaching from Ernest Holmes, who wrote The Science of Mind, is that life will be to you what you are to it. You know, and that's the perennial philosophy. What goes around comes around. But life will be to you what you are to it in the long haul. And that's why we always want to keep ourselves focused on the big picture. Even Ralph Waldo Emerson, who I'm kind of wonky about, said, you know, prayer is the contemplation of the facts of life from the highest point of view. And I don't mean like here point of view. I mean like from the moon point of view, to keep the big picture. Has your life been a reflection of what you probably really have believed? And at long last, every one of us would have to say yes. Win, lose, and draw in all three areas. We pretty much would have to. Have there been things that have occurred that are way beyond our control, way beyond our control or creation, that we have had to suffer through? Yes, of course. Yeah. You know, there are some New Thought teachers that kind of crack me up because there are, I don't want to say fundamental or orthodox, but let's just say very authoritarian New Thought teachers that say everything in your life is a reflection of your consciousness. That can't be true. It's just not true. Like, you know, what was in the dinosaur's consciousness that would have a meteor slam into Earth? You know, and we laugh, right? Because it's just kind of stupid. Obviously, there are things that happen that are not of our deepest desire, that you know, is unconscious. Nobody wants worldwide extinction instantly. But what are you aware of? And you know, this is the gift of this teaching, which is again the same as the perennial philosophy. The things that have been true, of the truest truth of all cultures, of all times. Wisdom is shared. Somehow it's a property that is there and it's available to us. And it has been articulated by every single culture of all times. And it is this outpicturing that what you believe and what you speak, how you live, not necessarily the words that you use, but the actions that you take, Again, Emerson used to say, your actions are speaking so loudly, I cannot hear what you are saying. Right? Some people think that, bless you, that they're super cheerful, and yet they are such a Debbie Downer, right? That you don't want to be around them. They're just speaking so loudly. There's no room for anything else. Well, you know, what we want to do is to grow in awareness. I mean, this is the only real spiritual practice there is to be aware of what you're thinking and saying. To be aware of it. What are you thinking when you're driving? Okay, so I'm visiting your lovely valley here. And yesterday I thought, I'll go see that special church in Sedona. So an hour and a half to go 14 miles. And you know this experience? Okay. So after 40 years in this practice, it's like what I do is go, I decided I wanted to see the church, and I sing the peace song to myself. I mean, it's not complicated. This is very simple, and it's very demanding. Because I saw an exchange in the parking lot at that church that was so shocking to me. I hadn't seen that kind of racism in my adult life. Somebody speaking to some Asian people about what was wrong with them. And my inner bartender came out, the window was down, and I went, hey, 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 hey. And they said, what's it to you? And I said, this is a church. But you know, a lot of us have a rough edge as well. And to grow in awareness of that, what your triggers are, and how to get out of it, is the whole point of spiritual practice. It's not to make yourself more holy. What is that? You couldn't be more holy than you are, exactly as you are right now. But to always be in this lane where you're driving towards your own health, wholeness, towards peace of mind, peace of heart, peace of spirit. So why? You can be a blessing when you show up. You can be part of the solution and not part of the problem while we're having this experience of being a human on this planet at this time. And then I think, being a man of a certain age now, you know, whatever is next, I don't have a clue. I've examined and explored every single avenue and every single thing about what's on the other side. And for me, I have found, well, that's fun and interesting. It's a profitless pursuit because I'm not dead, I'm here. And as we used to say in old church, I'll know more about that by and by. When I get to that other shore, I'll say, oh, for crying out loud, that's what this is. Right. But now that I am of a certain age, being that I qualified for American Association of Retired People 25 years ago, I want to be the best me I can when I get to the other side. That's why I'm interested in getting it right now. Having been through career, having been through relationships, having gone through joys and sorrows. Yes, I'm still working the program because I want to make sure that I leave everything on the stage, as they say in show business, the way Tina Turner left everything on the stage. And I think that's what impressed all of us about her. No doubt, she was given more than 100% every single time. No doubt. And that just wakes something up in your soul. Well, I want to leave it all on the stage here and be ready and be delighted and grateful when it's my time to go. And to keep having a program that I know I can work with confidence. You know, going to Catholic school, when you get to second grade, kids start having a lot of questions. And, ooh, sister, what about this? And ooh, sister, and ooh, sister, what about? It's a mystery. It's a mystery. It's a mystery is the answer. You just must believe it. Well, you know what? The things that we were told were a mystery actually weren't very mysterious. They were probably incorrect programming. But what's on the other side? That's a mystery, and we'll know about it when we get there. But what's clear here now? Life will be to me what I am to it. I said to the board yesterday a couple of times, all improvements are incremental. Baby steps, right, Eleanor? Baby steps as you go in the direction of your good. But you know, what we learn from babies also is they fall down on their hiney and they stand up 100% of the time. And they keep going. So the lessons are all around. And to be consistently working on something new and important is the point. It's the point of the extended life, of the gift of ongoing life. I'll conclude, tell you a brief story, very brief. There was a fellow named James Dillett Freeman. James Dillett Freeman wrote the Prayer for Protection. Do you know the background of that? It was written during World War II. And it's much longer than that. But it was written and published in Daily Words for moms who had boys, and some had girls who were in the nursing corps and whatnot in the service. But he came to talk to our class. He was still alive in 2000. And he knew Charles and Myrtle Fillmore in the 30s. He started working, maybe it was even in the 20s, that he started working at Unity. But he said, no matter what the question was, when people would come up to Charles Fillmore, and they would always have a million questions about reincarnation or vegetarianism or a billion questions, he would ignore the question and he would say, tell me what you're working on. And that was a quote from Freeman. Tell me what you're working on. Because it's the only thing that matters. What are you seeking to create in your world right now? It might be peace of mind. It might be physical health. It might be finding a way out of a situation where our conscious mind feels there is no way out of this, but yet the Christ presence in us knows that there is always a way forward. But what are you working on? Could be a new business, could be expanding your practice, could be getting into a relationship, and could be getting out of one for the ongoing blessing of all parties concerned, you know. But this is our work, is to always be working on something. And even if there isn't any project that's on your mind right now, you can be working and praying, by knowing the facts of life from the highest point of view, that there is a nonviolent solution to every challenge. That there is, if people are willing to pay the price, there is a nonviolent solution to every challenge. So work is required of all of us as long as we're here. And let's end this with a kind of a meditation, a little bit of a quiet time. Shall we do that? I will invite you to close your eyes if you choose to do that, or if you want to keep them open and look at all the beautiful faces all around you, you can do that too. because there is beauty all around. And even though there are others that have different points of view, there are good people everywhere. That is a fact of life. And there is a forming edge of our lives for every single one of us. There are things that we've handled. There are things that we have thrived through. There's suffering we've endured, pain we've healed. And yet, if we're still here, it means one thing, that there's more experience to be had. So what is that forming edge of your life? What's on the horizon for you? Will you address it with confidence? If your first answer is, I'm afraid, then the healing thought is, I'm willing. Because you can do it. You are peace and power and love. And in ultimate reality, there is no thing of an inferior nature that can come to you. You are complete within yourself. And your life is a seamless unfolding of the reality of the presence of God. So walk in the direction of your good. And even in times of challenge, be ye satisfied. There is light enough to take your step and find your foothold. If you choose to do so, repeat after me. I am complete. I am whole. I am enough. I am more than enough. All is well. Life is good. And I am truly blessed. And so it is, and amen. God bless you, friends. Thank you for your kind invitation. Appreciate you.